My name is Robert Harrison, and I am 68 years old. I am sitting in my study, surrounded by the remnants of a life I once thought was successful. The walls are lined with books I've never read, awards I've long forgotten, and photographs of people who no longer speak to me. The house is too big for one person, the silence too loud, and the memories too painful. But the one memory that haunts me more than any other is the day my son called me a stranger. That single moment changed my life forever. I was a successful businessman. I built a company from nothing, starting with a small loan and a dream. I worked 18-hour days, sacrificed weekends, and missed birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. I told myself I was doing it for my family. I told myself that the money, the security, the legacy I was building would make up for my absence. I told myself that one day when I had enough, I would slow down and be there for them. I told myself a lot of things. All of them were lies. My wife, Alina, was a saint. She raised our three children mostly alone while I was out conquering the business world. She attended school plays, parent-teacher conferences, and soccer games without me. She nursed them through fevers, comforted them through heartbreaks, and celebrated their achievements. She was the constant presence in their lives, the rock they could always count on. And I was the ghost, the figure who appeared occasionally but never really stayed. I was the man who provided but never participated. I had three children: Emily, my eldest, a bright and ambitious woman who inherited my drive; Matthew, my only son, who had his mother's gentle soul and my stubbornness; and Sophie, my youngest, who was the light of my life. I loved them all, but I never really knew them. I knew their grades, their extracurricular activities, their college acceptances. But I didn't know their dreams, their fears, their secrets. I was a stranger in my own home. Emily was the first to pull away. She was always independent, always determined to make her own way. She went to college, graduated with honors, and landed a prestigious job in a different city. She would call her mother every week, but she rarely asked for me. When I tried to talk to her, the conversations were stilted, superficial. She was polite but distant. She had built a life without me, and she seemed perfectly content with that. Sophie was the peacemaker. She tried to keep the family together, organizing holidays and dinners, trying to create the illusion of unity. But even she couldn't bridge the gap I had created. She loved me, I knew, but she didn't trust me. She had learned that I couldn't be relied upon, that my promises were empty, that my presence was fleeting. She had learned to expect disappointment. And then there was Matthew, my only son, my namesake. The child I had pinned all my hopes on. He was different from the others. He was sensitive, emotional, deeply perceptive. He saw through my excuses and understood the truth, that I had chosen work over family, success over love, and money over connection. He never said it out loud, but I could see it in his eyes. He was disappointed in me. He was angry with me. He was hurt by me. The breaking point came on his 16th birthday. I had promised to be there. I had promised to take him to a baseball game, just the two of us, quality time I had been promising for years. Matthew had been so excited. He had talked about it for weeks, counting down the days, planning what we would eat, what we would talk about, how we would bond. He had been looking forward to it more than anything. But a business emergency came up. A client was threatening to pull out of a deal. I had to handle it. I had to save the company. I had no choice. That's what I told myself. That's what I always told myself. I called Matthew an hour before the game. "Son, I'm so sorry," I said, my voice heavy with false regret. "Something's come up at work. I can't make it, but I'll make it up to you. I promise. Next weekend, I swear." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Matthew spoke, and his words cut through me like a knife. "You know what, Dad?" he said, his voice cold and steady. "I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised. You always do this. You always promise and you always break your promises. I've stopped expecting anything from you a long time ago. You're not my father. You're just a stranger who lives in our house." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. The words echoed in my mind over and over. "You're not my father. You're just a stranger." I had never heard anything so devastating in my entire life. My own son, the child I had sacrificed so much for, was telling me that I meant nothing to him, that I was a stranger, a stranger. I tried to call him back, but he wouldn't answer. I tried to talk to Alina, but she just shook her head sadly. "He's hurt, Robert," she said. "He's been hurt for a long time. You need to understand that your absence has consequences. You can't just show up when it's convenient and expect everything to be okay." I didn't understand. I didn't understand how I had become the villain in my own story. I had worked so hard, sacrificed so much, given everything for my family. And yet they didn't see it that way. They saw a man who was never there. A man who chose work over them. A man who was a stranger. I tried to make it right. I bought Matthew an expensive car, thinking it would make up for my absence. He refused to accept it. I tried to take him on a vacation, but he said he was too busy. I tried to attend his school events, but he made it clear he didn't want me there. The more I tried, the more he pushed me away. The gap between us grew wider and wider. Years passed. Matthew grew up, went to college, and built a life of his own. He became a successful architect, designing buildings that would stand for generations. He married a beautiful woman named Rachel, and they had 2 children, a boy and a girl. He built a beautiful life, a life filled with love and purpose, and I was not part of it. I tried to reach out. I sent birthday cards, anniversary gifts, Christmas presents. I called on holidays, leaving voicemails that were never returned. I flew across the country to attend his wedding, hopping to reconnect. He was polite but distant. He thanked me for coming but made no effort to include me. I sat in the back row, watching my son marry the love of his life, feeling like a stranger in my own family. Alina passed away 5 years ago. Her death was the final nail in the coffin of our family. She had been the glue that held us together, the bridge between me and my children. Without her, there was nothing. Emily stopped calling. Sophie stopped trying. Matthew stopped acknowledging my existence. They didn't even invite me to the funeral arrangements. I attended her funeral alone. Sitting in the back, watching my children grieve together, while I was left out in the cold. I had never felt so alone. But then something happened, something that would change everything. I was diagnosed with a heart condition. The doctors told me I needed surgery, a complex procedure that would require weeks of recovery. I was terrified. I had never been sick before. I had always been strong, healthy, indomitable. But now I was facing my mortality, and I had no one to turn to. I called Emily, she didn't answer. I called Sophie. She was sympathetic but distant. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said, "but I can't come. I have my own life now. I have my own responsibilities." I called Matthew. He didn't even pick up. I left a voicemail, my voice shaking with fear and desperation. "Matthew, it's me. I'm sick. I'm scared. I need you. Please, son, please. I know I've made mistakes. I know I've been a terrible father, but I'm begging you. Please just call me back. Just let me hear your voice." Days passed. No response. I was about to give up hope. I was about to accept that I would face this alone, just as I had faced everything else alone. But then a miracle happened. Matthew called me back. His voice was guarded, cautious. "I got your message," he said. "I'm sorry you're sick. I really am, but I don't know what you expect from me. We haven't been close for a long time. We're basically strangers." The word hit me like a physical blow. Strangers. The same word he had used all those years ago. The word that had haunted me for decades. It was still true. After everything, after all the years, I was still a stranger to my own son. "I know," I said, my voice cracking. "I know I've been a terrible father. I know I've made mistakes. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. I'm begging you. Please, Matthew, please come. I'm scared. I'm so scared. I don't want to die alone." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing, could almost feel him wrestling with his emotions. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer. "I'll come," he said. "Not for you, for Mom. She would have wanted me to. She always wanted us to be a family. She would have been heartbroken to know we ended up like this." I didn't care about his reasons. He was coming. My son was coming. That was all that mattered. He arrived at the hospital the next day. He looked older, more tired, more burdened, but he was there. He was there, and that was enough. For the first few days, it was awkward. We didn't know what to say to each other. We had been strangers for so long that we had forgotten how to be family. But slowly, painfully, we began to talk. We talked about his work, his family, his life. He talked about his children, his wife, his home. He talked about his mother, the woman we had both loved and lost. "We were so close," he said one night, his voice thick with emotion. "Mom and me, we were so close. I told her everything. I told her about my fears, my dreams, my secrets. She was my best friend. She was my confidant, and you were always just there, in the background, a figure, a stranger." I felt tears prick my eyes. "I know," I said. "I know I wasn't there. I was too busy, too focused on building a future. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was providing for you, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." He nodded slowly. "You know what the worst part is? I always wanted you to be there. I always wanted you to show up. I wanted you to be proud of me. I wanted you to be my dad, but you were never there. You never really saw me. You never really knew me." "I see you now," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I see you now, Matthew. I see the man you've become. I see the father you are. I see the son I should have been. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for all of it." He looked at me, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years: forgiveness. It wasn't complete. It wasn't total, but it was there. A glimmer of hope, a chance at redemption. "Dad," he said, "I don't know if I can forget everything. I don't know if I can just erase all the years of neglect, but I can try. I can try to move forward, not for you, for me, for my children. I don't want to be the kind of father you were. I want to break the cycle. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be present. I want to be the father you never were." It was the most painful and beautiful thing anyone had ever said to me. He was right. I had been a terrible father. I had made so many mistakes, but he was choosing to break the cycle, to be a better man, to be a better father. And that, more than anything, gave me hope. The surgery was a success. I recovered slowly with Matthew by my side. He stayed for 2 weeks, helping me through the recovery, talking to me, listening to me. We started to build a relationship, a real relationship, for the first time in our lives. We had so much to catch up on, so much to learn about each other. It was like meeting a stranger and discovering that he was actually your son. After Matthew went back home, we stayed in touch. We talked every week, sometimes every day. He sent me pictures of his children, told me about their achievements, shared his hopes and fears. He invited me to visit, and I went. I saw his home, his family, his life. I saw the beautiful world he had built, and I realized that he had become everything I had never been. His children were wonderful. They called me grandpa, and they didn't know the history. They didn't know about the years of neglect, the decades of distance. They just saw an old man who loved them, and that was enough. I spent time with them, playing games, reading stories, teaching them about life. I was determined to be there for them, to be present, to break the cycle that had broken my family. Emily and Sophie eventually came around too. It took time, but they slowly began to let me back in. We had long conversations, emotional conversations, healing conversations. They told me about their pain, their disappointment, their anger. And I listened. I finally listened. I accepted their anger, acknowledged their pain, and apologized for my mistakes. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I am 73 years old now, and I'm still healing. The wounds are still there, but they're starting to close. The relationship with my children is still fragile, but it's growing stronger every day. I am no longer a stranger. I am a father, a grandfather, a member of the family. The day my son called me a stranger changed my life forever. It was the moment I realized that my choices had consequences, that my absence had caused pain, that my priorities were all wrong. It was the moment I started to change. I learned that success is not measured in money, power, or status. It is measured in love, connected in the relationships you build, the people you touch, and the lives you change. It is measured in the moments you show up, the times you listen, and the ways you support. I wish I had learned this lesson earlier. I wish I had been there for my children when they needed me. I wish I had been the father they deserved. But I can't change the past. I can only change the future. And I am doing everything I can to make sure that my children and grandchildren know how much I love them, how much I cherish them, how much they mean to me. I spend as much time as I can with my family. I attend birthdays, holidays, and school events. I listen to their stories, share my own, and build the connection I should have built years ago. I am not perfect, and I never will be, but I am trying. I am present. I am there. My children have forgiven me. Not completely, not fully, but enough. Enough to move forward, enough to heal, enough to rebuild what was broken. And that is more than I ever hoped for. The day my son called me a stranger changed my life forever. It was the day I realized that I had been a stranger to my own family. It was the day I decided to become a father. Not a provider, not a breadwinner, not a success. A father. A real father. The kind of father my children needed. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to heal. It's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. If you are reading this and you see yourself in my story, please know that you have a choice. You can continue down the path I went down, the path of work, success, and neglect. Or you can change. You can be present. You can be there. You can be the parent, the partner, the person your loved ones need. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the damage is done. Don't wait until your children call you a stranger. Be there now. Show up now. Love them now. Because in the end, that's all that matters. That's all that will ever matter. I lost so many years with my children. I missed so many moments, so many milestones, so many opportunities to connect. But I am grateful for what I have now. I am grateful for the chance to rebuild, to heal, to love. I am grateful for my children who gave me another chance. I am grateful for my grandchildren who remind me of the importance of being present. And I am grateful for the day my son called me a stranger, because it was the day I finally started to become a father.